back, everyone. Now, why do I have that music playing? Everybody's going to wonder. My next guest has been on my show many times now before.
It has.
Yes, I have now with me Dr. Engleman, and he is the owner of Engleman Health Institute. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be back on a beautiful day.
And it is. And, Doctor, why do you like that music so much? What is it about that music that you want it on?
Well, because the name, it's called Something's in the Air, but the part I like about it, the line is the revolution's here. And the revolution in medicine is absolutely here. And the doctors and practitioners who either don't have the knowledge or haven't learned or aren't aware of it are going to be left behind, because the changes are amazing and they're happening very fast, and it's great for the patients.
Let's talk about you a little bit, because when you're a doctor, I like to, I want to know a little bit about you before I'm going to let you work on me, But I'm also going to let everybody open up. I'm going to open up the lines to the audience. For anyone to call in, if that's okay with you. I like to say the doctor is in to answer any of your questions, get a little bit of, a little bit of advice right here on Networking Arizona. Our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. So talk about yourself.
So my background is mainstream medicine. I, trained in internal medicine and was going to be a cardiologist. Still madly in love with cardiovascular medicine. And then I rotated through the emergency department at St. Joseph's, and I was good at it. I was fast thinking on my feet. I liked the action. I liked the drama. And some of you may remember not Ben Casey, but the way it started was he came crashing through the doors, and it was big drama. And that's the way the emergency department really is. And so I did that. I was going to do it for a while, and then I was asked to be the chairman of the department. And then I, during that time, became president of the Heart Association for a couple years locally and so forth. And then I did that for 23 years with a terrific career at St. Joseph's and Barrows Neurological Institute. And was in charge of that and the education. And we actually started the program of the paramedics becoming the people that you call when you get sick, because it used to be that you would call and then there'd be 5 ambulance companies. That sort of picture of everybody grabbing a hold of the gurney because they wanted to keep the revenue. Well, that's what used to happen. And so people finally decided that they should have a neutral body, and so the paramedics, the firefighters became, and that's really the vast majority of what firefighters do now.
You've got your clinic in the Biltmore area.
Yes.
Okay. Your website, everybody should look at it. It is Engleman, and it's spelled Engelman, health.com. Now, there's a lot of things.
Let me just briefly go back and just to finish up how I got there.
Oh, sorry.
So it turned out that once I left there, I was deciding on what else I wanted to do. I certainly didn't want to retire. And after a few years, I kept reading about stem cells. And I became fascinated by a cell that could become anything when it grows up, and how it would figure out what it was going to be and have it all happen correctly. And so I got a fellowship in that. There's only 22 of us in the world, and that opened my eyes to cellular biology, which we knew something about when I was in medical school, but not compared to now. And all of a sudden, I found out that if you want to practice good medicine, you have to understand everything that goes on in the cell, because we are one cell multiplied by 10 trillion. And so my saying is, you're only as healthy as your healthiest cell. And so you have to understand people at a cellular level, and there's tests now that can really do that.
So, before you came on, you've had callers that call in and they're interested in you. I want to know why people are so interested. Why do people come to you?
I guess you're only as healthy as your sickest cell. They come to me because they're fed up with the system. They've actually have their insurance, and they have gone to their doctor, and they have a number of different complaints and different ideas, and basically they feel like they're not being listened to, and the doctor and the staff is very busy, and they're writing another prescription, and they'll see somebody in the next 6 weeks or 3 months, and they don't feel like they just feel like they're getting consistently sicker and sicker and sicker. And they don't come to, the reason I like the patients who come to me is because they're committed by the time they come to me. They've been through the regular mainstream medicine that is a dysfunctional system. They want usually a person who understands mainstream medicine and knows how to write a prescription, but they also want somebody who understands naturopathic medicine, because 70% of the people in the United States use some form of alternative medical care. They take a supplement, they get acupuncture, they have massage, they do yoga, and those are all sort of, you'd think they've been around for a long time, but they really haven't.
Not for everybody. I think that's the key. And, a lot of people that today, even we think about the people that might be listening to this show even, that didn't think that would be something that they would turn to, but now everybody seems to be looking at the direction of natural everything.
Well, I tell people, we're not made to not work. We're made to work. We're made to heal. So we have to sort of go out of our way to ruin our bodies, which isn't that difficult, and particularly with the toxins that are around and just in the air, and what's in processed food and so forth and so on, and even food that's not processed. So I think people, now are deciding that in a natural way, well, if I could get my body in good shape, it would figure out a way to heal itself. That's what it's been doing for, millions of years.
How many people out there that are listening resonate with what he's saying, and also with the fact that you've gone to the furthest extent, you have gone to everyone, and you have not felt better yet? Been through tests, whatever it is. The doc is here. He's here live. He can talk to you right now if you want to call in. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. You can check him out on his website. It's Engleman, Engelman, health.com, and it's 602-466-3226. And you can call him direct, or you can call here and get a little advice right here. What's going on right now in the office?
Well, right now, I've become even more interested now. I'm just finishing up a refresher course on what's happening, the latest in cardiovascular and metabolic medicine by the top people in the world. And one of the things I'm really taken by is how many toxins there are and how it's contributing to our general health, but in particularly cardiovascular disease, and that it's measurable and that it's fixable. I'll give you an example. When I was doing mainstream medicine, I used to hear about this thing called chelation, which I think a lot of people have probably heard of. And to chelate is to grab a hold of metals and pull them out of somewhere out of the body. So all these people were going down to Yuma so they could go across the border into Mexico and get chelated. And a lot of people, one doctor here, Dr. Dietrich, that was the head of the heart hospital here, used to think that chelation was a good idea, but everybody, most of the mainstream thought it was quackery. So it turned out that there was a study that and it was being used to decrease coronary artery disease, hardening of the arteries. And so it turned out there was a study done by a reputable group that thought that it was going to show that it was a complete sham. And so, in fact, it didn't show that. It showed that about 18 to 20% of the people really did get improvement by chelation. And the reason that I have been learning now is because of these heavy metals, mercury, lead, cadmium. You know what the half-life of cadmium is? 20 years. And, cadmium's in cigarettes. So people go, well, I don't understand. I haven't smoked and they get their cadmium level back and it's still elevated because it's 20 years. Half of it is still there in 20 years.
Well, we need to get these metals out of us. They're in us, but I need to go to a break. So when we come back, we're going to talk further about this, but on our lines are open here. You can call here. Our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. Check him out. He's at Engleman, Engelman, health.com.
If I traded it all.
So welcome back. We're talking with Dr. Engleman. His offices are in Biltmore, the Biltmore area.
Yes.
And you can check him out on his website. It's Engleman, Engelman, health.com. And you can also call their office directly at 602-466-3226. I do have my lines open here if you want to call in. I like to say the doc is in to answer any of your questions. But right now we're just sort of talking, learning a little bit more about him and what you do. And you were talking about, is it chelation? Am I saying elation or chelation? Chelation. And how important it is, of course, for metals and our bodies. And they're the worst. I'm hearing more people now pulling their fillings out and all of that. Go ahead.
Well, the heavy metals, which are the mercuries, the leads, the cadmiums, and so forth, they interfere with pathways for generating energy. And when you interfere with those pathways for making energy is what really, pushes everything forward. So if you don't have enough energy, you're fatigued and your immune system doesn't work. You don't think well. A lot of people that I'm running into now, and I don't know exactly why, that come in, one of their main complaints is fatigue. And another complaint is they're having cloudy thinking. They just are having a difficult time getting their thoughts together. They just don't feel like their mind's really working well. And then when you start breaking it down, and we do tests on, practically everything. I know how much, oxidative stress somebody's under and their capacity to deal with it. We have a test that tells me how stressed somebody is and what their adrenal glands are doing all day, because a lot of people have trouble sleeping. Insomnia is a huge deal. And a part of it is the fact that our society is such a go-go society, and we've got all these gadgets and gizmos that people, it's difficult for them to just sit down and take stock. And so stress reduction is also a big deal. And in my life as well, I'm no different from anybody else. So I think looking at somebody as a complete human being and not going, well, here, let's run off and get this test, but finding out that they just lost their husband a year ago, or they have a loved one that's sick, or, they lost their job, a doctor should know that, and the patient should feel so comfortable. And when people come in, I go, this is your safe place to come. You come see me. I want you to come and see me. And this is the one place you can be yourself and tell me everything that you need to tell me, because that's how I can figure out what's going on with you.
If you can't tell your doctor, if you don't feel comfortable about talking to your doctor about everything, you got to come clean. You got to feel comfortable, because it's not going to help you if you don't.
Well,
if you don't feel comfortable that you're not selling them everything.
One of the reasons why I loved going, I don't like BS. I mean, some people do, I just don't. And so I'm not at social gatherings where people are talking about things of no significance. I either usually don't get invited or I usually don't show up. So I like people to talk about real things, and that's just me. And so I liked medicine because people, when they're laying there, with no clothes on, and you're talking to them or examining them, they're not going to tell you a bunch of stuff that's not true or pretend like they're a big shot. One thing that I've learned is most everybody, and this includes, I've taken care of senators and priests and archbishops, everybody is scared to die, and they don't want to. Some more than others. And nobody wants pain for themselves, and they don't want pain for their loved ones. And so if you go in with that thing and you look at them and that's an underlying thing. And I've taken care of people from all over the world. It's not any different from Chinese to Russians. We're powered the same way. That's why, I love doing what I'm doing, because it's very sincere, it's very straightforward, and there's really no time for crap.
So, in terms of the metals and the chelation and going back to that, were we finding that people are, running tired and don't know why they're feeling the way that they do? What is it that, so what would you suggest for people out there to do? What is there? Is a test that you do and find out, or how does it work?
Well, there actually is a test that I haven't been doing, but I'm just starting to do it now, called a provocation test of toxic metals, where you get a urine specimen before you give somebody a chelating agent by mouth, and then you test them after you've given them, which will pull the metals out of their system. The problem with these heavy metals is they love fat, and so they live in fat, and so they're not around. So if you were to get a blood test of somebody and say, "Well, I don't have any mercury," that's not where they are. They're hanging around and slowly leaching into your bloodstream piece by piece. And one of the reasons why people who lose weight quickly, frequently, and don't go someplace that will replenish the things that they need to get rid of those metals and those toxins, will become very sick. I mean, they really don't feel well, and they actually are sick, because those things that have been hiding in the fat, now there's no place to hide. You're losing the fat, and all that stuff comes pouring out in your bloodstream. So you have to do detoxification, where your liver's getting rid of those things. And so this idea that you can just go get a shot and go on a 500-calorie diet, and they tell you, you're not allowed to exercise. Those 500, that HCG and the 500-calorie diet, you are not allowed to exercise. Well, what diet is it that how do you expect to build muscle, if you don't exercise? So, yeah, you lose weight, but you're also losing protein, and then these toxins are pouring out. So what seems simple, is, if it seems too good to be true, in my experience over a few years, is it almost always is too good to be true. And you need to go to someone who knows what they're doing.
So should everyone be getting their metals checked? Because how would you know? I mean, the only way you would know is obviously you didn't have but metals don't just have what's in your mouth, right?
No.
It's where else? Where else could they be coming from?
Well, cadmium, one of the ways you get cadmium is, and one of the reasons why they grow tobacco down in the southeast, is because the soil is so full of cadmium. I mean, it's good to grow tobacco. The problem is it's toxic to you. So it's in food frequently. It's in drinking water. I'm not talking about just cadmium. I'm talking about all sorts of toxins. The mercury, is around.
So what should we do, Doc? We can't eat. We can't drink. What can we do?
You got to be careful. You got to do what I do: breathe air and eat rocks.
Exactly.
No, you can do. You have to be. I don't use plastic bottles.
I've heard that. I have heard that,
because they leak, and particularly when they sit in cars, they leach out these organophosphates, organopollutants that also hang around, and they do the same sort of thing. So I'm very careful. I don't think I may have plastic in my house, but I'm not sure where it is. I put all my waters in glass.
I've heard a lot about that.
Put anything in the microwave, and I'm very, very careful about what I eat.
So no microwave either.
The I'll use it, but very rarely. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what's scrambling the electrons, because that's how microwaves work. Is the outcome of that is known. I just don't know whether it's good or bad, but it scares me a little bit.
So let's say someone wanted to detox, let's say, and what should they do? I mean, if you could try and live a pure life, like, obviously you're going to do the best.
It
is impossible,
no,
Doctor.
Impossible. It's impossible. If you breathe the air, I'll give you an example. This is that the amount of lead in bone is 100 times greater today than it was 100 years ago. 100 times greater. So if you're out breathing air, those hydrocarbons are not completely combusted. So now you have those. So the idea is to go into somebody who knows what they're doing and get checked. You don't have to get detoxed all the time, but go to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Tell you what, guys, we all got metals run through us. Whether you're smoking or not, eating whatever, you got to get checked. Give them a call. The number is 602-466-3226. It's Engleman, ENGELMAN health.com.
Not that I can.
If